tomorrow, 72 on Sunday, and by Monday could hit around 60 or so. So a little bit of a cooling trend, but that's all right. We'll enjoy what we've got right now. It's 57 on the early game.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
This is USC linebacker Mo Kaba, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, home of the Gamecocks.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 Florence.
9 o'clock on your Friday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Congratulations. You have made it to the end of another long week. Hopefully you got some cool plans going on this weekend for St. Patrick's Day, and you can go and celebrate, have some drinks, have some food, whatever you choose to do with that holiday weekend. Obviously, it's going to be a big weekend for basketball with wall-to-wall conference championship tournaments going on as we set the field for the NCAA tournament coming up in a little less than a week's time now. We are truly getting into the madness that is March, and South Carolina is obviously finding itself right in the thick of all that, and they did themselves a lot of good yesterday by picking up a win in the first round, or their first round game, second round officially, of the SEC tournament, defeating Arkansas 80-66 out there at the Bridgestone Arena. First time South Carolina has won a game at the SEC tournament since 2018. And that's kind of been a common theme for this team so far this year, is doing things that haven't been done in quite a few years. Obviously, they will be in the NCAA tournament for the first time since that Final Four run back in 2017, and again picking up their first tournament win since the year after that. In previewing this game yesterday, we talked so much, and rightfully so, about how dangerous this Arkansas team was, particularly when it came to rematching opponents. I laid this out for you yesterday that all of their 6 conference wins, 7 when you count the win that they had over Vanderbilt in the first round of the tournament on Wednesday, were all against teams that they had faced twice that year, or twice this season, excuse me. They had sweeps against Texas A&M and Missouri. They'd beaten Georgia a second time around. They had beaten LSU a second time around, and again had beaten Vanderbilt the second time that they played them on Wednesday. So that was kind of a dangerous precedent to be set for yesterday's game, given the fact that South Carolina had gone on the road to Fayetteville earlier on in the season and handled their business against Arkansas. And with the way that the game started, it certainly looked like it might be trending in the direction of yet another Arkansas defeat of an opponent that they had seen for a second time, as they jumped out to that early 11-3 lead on the back of Trevon Brazil's 2 three-pointers early on there. South Carolina just did not look like they were in a very good rhythm through those first couple of minutes. Had a really tough time, holding on to the ball. It just looked like very sloppy play, and that's something that you can perhaps attribute to just having a couple extra days off. And, we certainly talk about the advantage of having the bye, which is one less game of wear and tear, or if you have the double bye into today, 2 less games of wear and tear on your, on your team's body compared to your opponent. But there's also the element of maybe being out of sync a little bit, because you get so used to playing this like Saturday and either Tuesday or Wednesday during the season that when you have that extra day of rest, that can throw you off your game a little bit. Not to mention the fact that you're traveling and you're in a tournament environment, which is a lot different than your usual day-to-day grind of the season. It could throw you off a little bit. And South Carolina came out of the gate a little bit rusty, which again is understandable. And Arkansas, having played the day before, even though they played into overtime, was a little more loose and a little bit more ready to go. At least from the jump. When the offense finally started clicking, it really started clicking, and that was due in large part to Colin Murray Boyles, who had about 9 points through the first 10 minutes of the game yesterday, and ended up having one of his best performances of the season when it was all said and done. And through the rest of that first half, once South Carolina kind of got its feet underneath them, it was very much back and forth until South Carolina, as we've seen them do several times this year, decided to break out that old secret weapon that is the 1-3-1 defense. Now, typically, South Carolina doesn't employ this until the second half of games when they've been down at halftime and they come out of the gate in the second half playing this style of defense to get a little bit more of a handle on the situation, and it's usually worked out for them this season. But this was a rare instance of them using it in the first half to close things out there. And, man, when they did that, they locked Arkansas down completely. In the final little over 2 minutes of the first half, Arkansas was not able to get anything on their last couple of possessions as they just seemed kind of baffled by that defensive strategy and not being able to advance the ball past that wall of middle defenders that you put in that 1-3-1 across basically where the free throw line is, and that played into South Carolina's favor because they were able to take advantage of Arkansas going cold, put together a couple buckets themselves, and end in the first half on a high note of Meechie Johnson scoring essentially a buzzer-beating layup there to give them the 38-35 lead going in to the half, which South Carolina immediately turned into a nice little run to open up the second half where they got off to a 10-0 start. And then really when you add up the last couple of minutes of the first half and the first couple of minutes of the second half when it came to Arkansas scoring, they went completely cold for, I think it was close to about a 7-minute stretch there. And that was with South Carolina not even using the 1-3-1 defense, to start the second half. They had just rattled Arkansas so much to end that first half, they couldn't find their groove very easily to start the second. It was roughly about 6-7 minutes of time within the game before Arkansas was able to get off the board when Mekhi Mitchell made a layup just under 16 minutes to go in the second half. And outside of a stretch there where South Carolina was not able to make any field goals in the middle of the second half, Arkansas did cut that lead down to 6. After that, South Carolina was able to kind of manage that gap and cruise to a pretty comfortable victory again, 80-66. And going back to the hype that we were putting behind this game going into yesterday, I don't think it can be understated how, and despite the fact that this is not a great Arkansas team this year, being able to beat them in a tournament setting, I think really says a lot about this team, because Arkansas, especially under Eric Musselman, has been a great tournament program. And I brought this up yesterday. When you look at the team that they were a season ago, sub 500 in the SEC, well, guess what? They rode that to Sweet 16. In the 2 prior years, they'd obviously been to the Elite 8. They thrive in these kind of environments. And yesterday was an example of South Carolina seemingly beating them at their own game when it came to those adjustments. Now, yes, those weren't adjustments specifically made at halftime, but South Carolina realized, and Lamont Paris realized, what they were doing from a defensive standpoint in that first half was not quite getting the job done. And with the 1-3-1, it's not something you want to do all the time. Obviously, South Carolina, kind of uses it as the in case of emergency break glass kind of deal when it comes to their defense. That again, maybe Arkansas was preparing for that to come out in the second half, which is when we typically have seen South Carolina employ it. Breaking out early to in the first half, I think, really threw Arkansas off, and that ended up again being a big factor in why South Carolina was able to flip the momentum back in their favor. And again, outside of that short little dry spell in the middle of the second half, was able to pretty much cruise from there to the 14-point win out there in Nashville yesterday. Another key to this game that we talked about going in was going to be winning in the post. This is a Arkansas team that is not great at rebounding compared to a South Carolina team that's pretty darn good at rebounding. And they went out there and won off the glass with 33 rebounds, 12 of them being offensive rebounds compared to only 4 for Arkansas. South Carolina was able to turn that into 19 second chance points as well. You want to talk about efficiency? South Carolina, 52 points in the paint, which is their best mark of the entire season. A perfect split of 26 points in the paint, split between the two halves, 26 in the first half and 26 in the second half. So South Carolina, as we've seen them do so much this season, we know this team's built on its identity of really solid defense, being able to go in there and just dominate in the post, specifically with guys like Colin Murray-Boyles. And trust me, we'll get to him a little bit here in just a minute. But with any game that South Carolina plays, we obviously talk about the tempo quite a bit. And yesterday was going to be no different. That's an Arkansas team that plays a faster tempo, as most teams do, than South Carolina. They're not the teams like Kentucky and Alabama. They're going to be sprinting up and down the court on you, but they play at a significantly quicker pace than South Carolina does. And with Carolina, again, not getting out to the hottest start, but once they finally got control of the game, was able to truly slow that tempo down, as we know they love to do, and limit Arkansas to just 64 possessions, which is right in that wheelhouse of what South Carolina looks to do to its opponents every single game, and obviously ended up being successful yesterday once again. So now South Carolina has punched their ticket and has the opportunity to take on Auburn in a rematch coming up today. It's going to be the same situation as yesterday, being around a 3:30 tip. I think yesterday's game tipped off closer to 3:40 because LSU and Mississippi State ran a little bit long, but we will have pregame coverage starting here on the game at 3 o'clock immediately following the halftime show, and then Derek and Judge Manning will take you right up until tip time. Again, probably a little after 3:30 for the quarterfinal matchup between South Carolina and the Auburn Tigers. And this is an opportunity for South Carolina to avenge that loss, their worst blemish of the entire season, being that 40-point loss on the road in Neville Arena, only going back right about a month ago now. And you're running into an Auburn team now in a neutral setting, which they're still good, but they're not quite as dominant away from home as they are out there on the Plains. So an opportunity for South Carolina to potentially avenge that loss from earlier on in the season will certainly not be easy. And at this point, South Carolina is playing with house money a little bit. Is there a chance for them to maybe jump up into a 4 seed? Certainly. But I don't think that is something that is completely guaranteed. So regardless of what happens today, I think South Carolina is safely going to be able to slide into one of those 5 seed spots, which, hey, it's pretty solid. Now, yes, you do have to play a 12 in that situation, and we obviously know that there's inevitably going to at least be 1 12 that beats 5, because that seems to happen every year in the NCAA tournament, but hopefully that is somebody else and not South Carolina. But we'll dive into the bracketology of all that, as well as previewing the matchup more as the show and the day goes along. Want to hear some sound from Coach Paris and some of the players as well, coming away from yesterday's victory over Arkansas, as South Carolina picks up again its first win at the SEC tournament since 2018. We'll dive into all that. Also going to talk to our guy Elijah Campbell coming up at the bottom of the hour to give us the latest on what's going on out there in Nashville as South Carolina prepares for its quarterfinal matchup later on today. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Friday morning here on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been this year. What's so funny? The noise.
You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app now.
I'd like to remind you once again about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists. Do have some rain that's looking to come into the area a little bit later on today. And if you have an open crawl space and a storm has recently come through, you might have some standing water underneath your home. High humidity and condensation in your crawl space can create an environment for mold, mildew, and pests, including things like termites. That moisture can also lead to things like wood rot as well as floor joist problems. Musty smells or awful odors can come from mold and mildew in your crawl space, and that can cause serious health issues to you and your family. Things like runny nose, itchy eyes, coughs because of up to half the air that you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space. If you're having any issues at all with your crawl space or anything like that, you need to check out our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist. Go online to cantycanfixit.com and schedule yourself for an appointment. Again, cantycanfixit.com for our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist.
1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The second annual Mega Gun and Knife Show is this weekend at the State Fairgrounds, and it's the largest gun and knife show ever held in Columbia. This is not just a gun show, it's an event. 2 huge buildings and over 650 tables of rifles, shotguns, handguns, knives, ammo, antiques, military displays, and more. You can buy, sell, and trade. Food vendors and educational exhibits are on site, so bring the whole family. The Mega Gun and Knife Show is brought to you by the South Carolina Arms Collectors Association, and it's the real deal. This Saturday and Sunday at the South Carolina State Fairgrounds. SCGunshows.com.
Get your taste buds ready. Chicken Parm just got an upgrade. The new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub from Firehouse Subs is made with savory chicken meatballs and a bright marinara sauce topped with shaved Parmesan, melted provolone, and crispy Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, served on a toasted garlic bread roll. Try the new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs. Order online or on the app today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs. Save more lives.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA. Music fans, on Friday, March 22nd, a very special night is coming to Columbia. Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis, a national television show produced for SCE-TV and American Public Television, is taping live at the historic Chappelle Auditorium at Allen University. Patrick will be joined by Drew Holcomb, David Ryan Harris, and Sean Mullins. This show will air on more than 300 stations this summer, and you can be part of it. Tickets are on sale at southernsongwriters.com or patrickdavismusic.com. One night only, March 22nd in Columbia.
What you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy. Check out the Season of Love at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 in Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive. Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 1075 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 1075 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach
and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head with you on this Friday morning, getting you set for more South Carolina men's basketball out at the SEC men's tournament. First, I want to remind you, though, St. Patrick's Day celebration going to be going on in 5 Points tomorrow all day long. Things get rolling at 7:30 a.m., running all the way until 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Myself and Bill Gunster, we're going to be out there, going to have some things set up for our station and the other stations that we have here in the Cumulus family of radio here in Columbia. Going to be giving away some stuff, so come by and see us if you see us out there in the 5 Point area. Again, going to be out there all day coming up tomorrow. Yesterday was a great day for South Carolina with the win over Arkansas, and that was headlined by one Colin Murray Boyles.
My teammates really just get me in the right spots, hit me when they see I got a good chance to get around the basket and score a lot. So I really credit them, and then also coach for writing up these plays so that we could get open, have multiple options, and I was just hitting shots today, so that's always good.
That was Colin Murray Boyles on his great performance yesterday, and you can often wonder when it comes to some of these true freshmen how they're going to handle tournament settings. It's a chaotic environment. Obviously, the lights are even brighter because you have this national spotlight on you, and it's a win or go home mentality in every single game. And some freshmen around the country might not be able to step up and perform as well as they have in other games. Not Colin Murray Boyles. He proceeds to go out there and have one of his best games of the entire season against Arkansas yesterday. Coach Paris, after the game, talked a little bit about if he thinks that CMB is maybe their secret weapon.
Yeah, I said this, I don't know how long ago, and I keep saying it, and it hasn't changed really, but his ceiling is so high. He's got an unbelievably high ceiling. I just don't even think he's close to it still. And he continues to achieve and continues to grow more than anything. He continues to grow. Some of the shots he made today were off balance, moving away from the basket, and it takes incredible touch to finish some of those. So, yeah, sure, I guess it's a secret. I don't know how it's a secret at this point. He's been playing really well, and our team's been winning a lot of games. So, and he's a key part to it on both sides. I'm telling you, defensively is where he really stands out defensively. He's so active, he anticipates at a high level. He's got tremendous feel, and then he's got the athleticism, both vertically and from an agility standpoint, that allows him to make plays and then recover when he makes mistakes. Typically, he's a high level player.
And I agree with Coach. I don't think it's a secret by any means. This is a dude that's been balling out for pretty much the majority of conference play. And again, he only got inserted back into the lineup towards the end of non-conference play back in December, after recovering from mono, and I think it was reasonable to think that maybe it was going to be a slow process for him getting back up to speed and performing at the level that we had heard him touted to be able to perform at. But he hit the ground running, came out firing on all cylinders, and has been showing out in just about every single game since, and yesterday was no exception. 24 points on 11 of 15 shots from the field, very efficient yesterday. 7 rebounds, grabbed 2 assists, and had 4 steals as well. This is a dude that is making his presence known across the entire court. And, he's certainly becoming well-known across the SEC and was rightfully named to the All-SEC freshman team earlier on this week. But, depending on where South Carolina goes in the NCAA tournament, if they can put together 2 or 3 wins, maybe get themselves into a Sweet 16 scenario, I feel like the entire country can know Colin Murray Boyles' name, if they don't already, by the end of the month. If he can continue to play at this level, which we expect him to, in some of these big games coming up in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, going to be a big key factor if they're going to be able to beat Auburn coming up later today. One thing in playing against an Auburn team is you're going to have to slow down Janai Broome, who is their leading scorer. South Carolina did a really good job yesterday of containing Arkansas's leading scorer in Tremont Mark. Here is Coach Paris on how they were able to hold him at bay for only 2 points yesterday.
I think we did a decent job on him the first time we played him at their place, and then he cut loose late in the game. I think the main goal, this is going to sound elementary, is that we were really trying to stay between him and the basket, and sometimes that means there's a tasty morsel, I call it, to our guys that's out there, and you may want to reach for that thing and you think you're going to steal it. You have to lay off of that thing and then just be focused on staying in front of him. And if you're focused on staying in front of him, he's an aggressive guy. Some of the shots he's going to take are difficult. Now, he's such a good player. He can make hard shots. He does make hard shots. But the percentages are in your favor. But I'll tell you where I know he gets to cooking is if you get out of position and you reach and gamble, and I think he's impossible to stop if you do that. So I think we did a good job of being really solid defensively with him. We showed some help when we could to try to get him slowed down. And, we tried really hard. We tried really, really hard.
As I mentioned, he is Arkansas's leading scorer this season. He dropped 18 points, as Coach Pears mentioned, in the first matchup these teams had earlier on the season. A lot of those points did come a little bit later on in the game, and he dropped 18 points all in the second half against Vanderbilt the other day to help Arkansas pick up that win to get them into this game against South Carolina. So, again, that's very much testament to what this defense of South Carolina is capable of, being able to lock in and zero on him, where you have to be very disciplined. As he mentioned, you can't take your eyes off him. You can't let him get any kind of inch of wiggle room, or he'll kill you, from the floor. And it's not just the fact that he was able to only score 2 points in this game. It's the fact that he only got four shots up. So when he got the ball in his hands, he wasn't able to even attempt to be very effective with it, which, again, I think speaks volumes to what South Carolina's defense is capable of doing when they can truly zero in on one of the better players on a team like they did against Tremont Mark yesterday, which, again, is going to be a big factor if they're going to be able to beat Auburn today, slowing down a guy like Janai Broome, who hurt him the last time. They scored 21 points in their matchup earlier on this season. Again, we'll dive into more specifics of that matchup as the morning and the day goes along. But coming up next, live out from Nashville, it's going to be our guy Elijah Campbell checking in on this victory from yesterday for South Carolina. Also talk a little bit about some of the news that's been going on over the past 24 hours in regards to coaches and their futures out there in Nashville as well. And Elijah Campbell's coverage from the SEC Men's Tournament is all sponsored by Cool Care Heating, Air, Plumbing, and Refrigeration. And Elijah will tell you more about that coming up here in just a moment. It is the Extra Point. It's our head along with you, getting you set for more South Carolina men's basketball at the SEC Tournament here on your Friday on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Got a take?
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line.
Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
803-404-6100.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Gunner here with the mortgage guru Jacob Crowder from First Palmetto Bank. If the new year has you in need of a guru in this market, Jacob will get you taken care of. Just a few years ago, he helped me, and I personally recommend him and First Palmetto Bank, who's owned and operated right here in the Midlands. Jacob has local decision makers, which means quick and precise processing and underwriting. So if you're looking to make a move, give Jacob a call today, 803-719-1005, or email him at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com.
Thanks, Bill. It's nice to have the band back together. Interest rates have stabilized, as well as the local housing market. Now is a good time to buy a house. At First Palmetto, we have products that help home buyers keep payments down. Also, if you're considering building a home, we have a no-nonsense construction loan fit your needs. If the new year brings change, we can help you. Give me a call, 803-719-1005.
Great news on the housing market having stabilized, so that makes it a good time to buy?
Absolutely. That sums it up, Bill.
Call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005.
My MLS number is 198432. First Palmetto is a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender.
The Cocky Trot 5K and Fun Run and Walk, presented by Palmetto Shirt Company, is back. Join Gamecock fans on Saturday, April 20th for the fun-filled morning racing around Gamecock Park and Williams-Brice Stadium. Learn more and register today at GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot.
Getting rid of pests is not a do-it-yourself project, so call the 75-year professionals at Dodson Pest Control first. Visit DodsonBROS.com to find an office near you. Dodson, the pest professionals you trust.
Pete Alewine Pool and Spa is getting you ready for pool season with their March Mayhem sale. Saturday, March 16th through Saturday, March 23rd. 20% off all pool and spa chemicals to get your pool swim ready. 20% off salt, 20% off chlorine, 20% off algicides, towels, 20% off shock, and more. March Mayhem at Pete Alewine Pool and Spa, March 16th through March 23rd. They're located at 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find them on Facebook and Instagram or online at PeteAlewinePools.com.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right, we'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
803-630-5929 for more details.
I love being a bartender. I love waiting tables. But at the end of my shift, my feet were killing me. And so I had to pretend like I was having a good time, and really, I couldn't wait to sit down. But it wasn't just my feet, it was also my knees were achy. A lot of neck pain, too. I was in so much pain, I kind of lost hope, really. And then I saw the Good Feet store, and that's when everything changed.
For over 20 years, we've helped people like Kristen enjoy their work again without their feet getting in the way.
It was pretty shocking to realize that I'd been in so much pain, and suddenly I'm completely pain-free. Now that I have the Good Feet arch supports, I don't have to pretend to be happy. I'm genuinely happy. So, cheers. My name is Kristen, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Stop by the Good Feet store in Columbia near Whole Foods for a free fitting. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com. Celebrate St. Patrick's Day with Irish beer, special food, and live Celtic music this Saturday, March 16th at Savage Craft Ale Works. Welcome back pints of gold and a wee bit of wit. Brewed specifically for this annual event. They can even make it green for you. The Bogarts duo return for their third year with all your Irish favorites to set the stage for the Steel City Rovers. Admission and parking are free. Limited edition St. Patty's Day logo t-shirts are available now and will sell out before Saturday. Pick yours up today. See you at Savage, 430 Center Street, West Columbia this Saturday. Must be 21 with valid ID to drink. Please celebrate responsibly.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Shot clock at 4. Beachy drives, kicks to BJ. 3 from the top of the key. Yes. That is a dagger. He beats the shot clock expiration with his second 3 of the afternoon. Gamecocks push the lead to 21.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Friday morning. That was the call yesterday on the Gamecocks Radio Network. Derek Scott with BJ Mack, indeed, hitting a dagger there late for South Carolina, helping them pick up the 80-66 victory over Arkansas in the second round of the SEC tournament. Our guy Elijah Campbell was on the scene to see it all go down. Elijah, fun first day for South Carolina out there at the tournament, and sights getting set on Auburn coming up today. But looking back on this game from yesterday, what a performance, especially in that second half for South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the best thing about this team, too, is their ability to identify another team's weakness and really take advantage of it. Arkansas really didn't have much down low in terms of post defense, and their front court's really struggled to guard people a lot this year. And, I mean, South Carolina had 52 points in the paint yesterday, and it's the most they've had in the paint all season long. And, you know, asking Colin Murray-Boyles yesterday and Josh Gray and BJ Mack, like, going into this game, is this something that you identified, or when watching the film, is it something that you saw that you had an advantage? And they said, yeah, especially when it comes to ball screens, they switch a lot and they switch their fours a lot, and they thought they were able to get very, opportunistic matchups. And Colin Murray-Boyles, man, he has developed a nice little jump hook over his right shoulder, and he went to that a couple times yesterday. I mean, he made about 10 buckets, and all of them were or I think 11, and all of them were in the painted area. He was about as dominant as he's looked all season long. And, you know, if you're able to take advantage of those type of mismatches pretty regularly, you're going to find yourself winning a lot of games, especially if you're able to establish a dominance down there and crash the glass like they did too. They were, they didn't necessarily shoot well from 3, 2 of 14, but they were able to crash and get almost every offensive rebound imaginable, it felt like. And if they're able to attack the glass like that, there's not going to be a lot of games that they can't win on paper.
Well, that feels like one of those things that can kind of truly neutralize any opponent. And again, you're maybe not going to be able to have the same success pulling down 52 points like they did yesterday against Arkansas. But if you can have that dominant presence down there in the post near the, winning off the glass like they were able to do yesterday, like you said, I feel like that can truly keep you in any game, no matter who the opponent is over the course of these next couple weeks through not only the rest of the SEC tournament, but the NCAA tournament as well.
Yeah, that type of stuff just makes you matchup proof, man. And one thing that we see a lot in these tournament scenarios is that styles make fights, and sometimes a bad matchup can be the death of you. A lot of mathematical studies have kind of shown that the teams that pull off the most upsets run really slow paces. They limit the possessions. They also grab the most offensive rebounds and shoot a ton of threes and play with a ton of variance. It's kind of a common theme amongst teams that are able to pull off really big upsets in the tournament and in tournament settings. And, if you're a team like South Carolina that even though you do play a slow pace that could get you upset on any given night, if you rebound the ball well enough to limit the other team's chances, check. You defend well enough to make the other team's three-point attempts tougher looks, check. Then you're going to be in pretty good shape to be able to win a lot of these games, no matter what the matchup is, because you're able to run teams off the free throw line or three-point line. If they do take those shots, they're not easy shots, and you're going to be able to at least minimize what another team does. And if you're able to do that over the course of a 65-possession game, you might not win every game, or you might not end up making a deep run, but you're going to be in contention to not get blown out or be able to be in every single game that you play.
Again, talking to our guy Elijah Campbell out at the SEC men's tournament there in Nashville. And look, we've lofted so much praise towards Colin Murray-Boyles this season, and rightfully so. But what does it say about a true freshman being able to go into an environment like Nashville in the SEC men's tournament and go out there and put on one of his best performances of the entire season against Arkansas yesterday?
Oh, yeah, I think Meechie Johnson a few weeks ago said it best when asked about Colin. It said he's not a freshman, he is a man-child. And yesterday he definitely kind of proved that a little bit. Like Arkansas's bigs are very experienced. Like Jalen Graham has been playing college basketball for 3 or 4 years at multiple schools. Trevin Brazil has played college basketball at multiple schools for 3 or 4 years. They're very, very experienced. Mekhi Mitchell has played at like 3 different schools. He's been playing college basketball for 4 or 5 years. And the best big on the floor yesterday was a 19-year-old true freshman who they couldn't keep off the glass, nor could they keep him from scoring whenever he got the ball inside the paint. He was almost automatic. So it's remarkable to get to watch him have that process too. And you realized yesterday that the best thing about Colin Murray-Boyles' game is that Arkansas realized they couldn't double him when he got the ball in the post, right? He would get the ball in really advantageous situations. In that scenario, Arkansas has 2 choices. You can send help and double team, get the ball out of his hands, and make South Carolina have to move the ball, or you can try to go one-on-one. Arkansas is not a great interior post defensive team, and they would have elected to go one-on-one rather than send help and let Colin Murray-Boyles pick them apart as a passer, because they know pretty damn well that's exactly what he's going to do if they watch just any type of tape from the SEC this year. SEC opponents would do it a lot, and Colin is as good as it gets of any big in college basketball right now at finding the open man when he's doubled. Arkansas would not dare try that yesterday. They did not send help one single time, and they elected to go one-on-one, and Colin killed him that way. So he's good enough now to the point where if you get a one-on-one matchup in the post, you do kind of have to pick your poison with him a little bit. And I think that makes him a dangerous player.
Yesterday was another example of South Carolina breaking out the 1-through-1 defense, except as opposed to the other times where it was something they did coming out of the locker room in the second half. They chose to employ this defense with about 2 minutes to go in the first half yesterday. Worked very effectively, completely shut down Arkansas going in the locker room. They were able to ride that wave of momentum to a 10-0 run to start off the second half as well. Can we still consider this a secret weapon, or should we just consider this a normal part of South Carolina's defense, especially going forward in these games where if you lose, you're done?
That's a really good question. I think after, deploying it 3 or 4 times, I guess it's the not so secret weapon, but we can at least give it that type of label, right? Because I guess the thing is, you don't know when Lamont is going to deploy that. That part does have a level of unpredictability that, it seemed like yesterday that they might have stuck to man for a little bit. I didn't foresee the 1-3-1 being played, but Lamont made an adjustment. He said, look, the way Arkansas is getting baskets right now is they are able to get into the paint on straight line drives. A lot of those Arkansas guards were able to get into the lane. Tremont Mark, in the Vanderbilt comeback the night before, got to his spots every single time off the dribble. And that he's a rhythm shooter off the bounce. And he didn't have a particularly great game yesterday, but a lot of those players on that Arkansas team are the same way. L. Ellis is the same way. Chandler Lawson is the same way. They're rhythm off the dribble shooters. And when they're able to dictate their offense and be able to get wherever they want on the floor off the bounce, you got to mix it up a little bit. Lamont did that, and instead of being able to basically mismatch hunt and go one-on-one, Arkansas had to pass the ball around the perimeter. And spoiler alert, they're not a good passing team, and you got to be a really crisp, decisive passing team against a 1-3-1. And South Carolina kind of found the loophole there to get Arkansas to stall out on about 3 or 4 possessions, and they were able to score on those 3 or 4 possessions, and that ultimately made the difference in that first half. And then coming out of the locker room, a 12-0 run. I think it topped out at 12-0. But that run ended up ultimately separating it to the point where even when the Hogs did make a little bit of a push, it wasn't enough to get them within two possessions.
You mentioned Tremont Mark's game yesterday. Only scores 2 points. Only had 4 attempts from the field over the course of 40 minutes yesterday, and that's something that South Carolina's done a really good job of throughout this entire season, is being able to neutralize some best scorers on respective teams, and yesterday was no different. And that's obviously going to be a big objective going forward, especially for a game like today where you're going to have to try and slow down a guy like Janai Broome, who killed you for 21 points earlier on in the season.
Exactly, and not just, the way he can score down low, which for his entire career, he has been a great back-to-the-basket scorer. But this year, Janai Broome has kind of added an element of three-point shooting. So we talk about South Carolina's interior defense. One of the best luxuries they have is even if you do maybe lose a one-on-one battle on the dribble, Colin Murray-Boyles and Josh Gray have been good erasers of your mistakes, right? They can help over and defend a shot, block it, or maybe alter it and be able to get a stop that way. But with Janai Broome, his ability to shoot a little bit, and the fact that you kind of have to respect his three-point jumper now than you never really had to in previous seasons, that can pull your bigs away from the basket if they're able to do so. And Auburn's not afraid to pull Broome away from the basket and have him play out there if it means neutralizing your best rim protectors. So that's going to come into play here in terms of defense. If I'm Lamont, you tell your forward, especially Colin, I don't want you switching off Janai Broome as much as possible. Sometimes in basketball you have to switch. Sometimes you get caught up on a screen, you have to switch. But I would highly anticipate seeing a lot of Colin Murray-Boyles defending Janai Broome and giving him that assignment. And that's going to be one of the biggest ones to watch today because, Auburn's got about 8 or 9 players after the injury to Berman last week. I mean, they more so 7 or 8, but the players that they can rotate in and out that can play, a multitude of different positions. Janai Broome is arguably the most important player in that team when it comes to production and versatility. And if you're able to neutralize it in just the slightest bit, you're going to give yourself a puncher's chance.
Again, that game coming up today around 3:30. Pregame coverage will start here at 3 o'clock on the game. Elijah's going to hang around with us for one more segment because there was a lot of coaching news going on yesterday while the tournament was also happening. We'll dive into that coming up, wrapping up hour number 1 of the Extra Point. Tyler Head, along with you, Elijah Campbell, joining us live from Nashville at the SEC Men's Tournament here on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Ever sit in this meeting?
What would you say you do here? I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
Think to yourself, Man, I'd rather be listening to the game.
You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Well, just go to iTunes or Google Play and download our app on all of your devices, and you'll never be without the game again.
I'm Bart Winkler with a CBS Sports Minute. It was the most attractive job in the offseason for many, coaching the LA Chargers. All those weapons: Herbert, Eckler, Gerald Everett, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Whoever got hired, walking into a contender. Well, they're all gone. Besides Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen dealt last night to Chicago for a fourth-round pick. Jim Harbaugh won't have regrets, though. He still has the quarterback. However, success in LA might come a little later than most people anticipated. I'm Bart Winkler.
When a cold keeps you up, try NyQuil Severe Honey Flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold medicine. Powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste to give your body the rest it needs to get that cold gone. Wake up refreshed, feeling relieved after enjoying the delicious flavor of NyQuil Severe Honey. NyQuil Severe Honey Flavor, use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Getting older is never fun. You start experiencing some symptoms that you're not accustomed to. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe it's low energy level. Maybe it's lack of drive and motivation. But at the Men's Clinic, Dr. Dan Balknight is ready to help you with an individualized treatment that will treat your needs. So give him a phone call today, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS, or visit him on the web for more information, mensclinicsc.com.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer Paul.
I run a farm with my family, and thanks to Cricket 5G, I know they can reach me, even when I'm out walking our dog Valentine.
Good dog, Valentine. Big nationwide 5G. Get fast 5G on 4 lines for only $25 per month each. Smile. You're on Cricket.
Real customer pay for testimonial. Discounts vary per line. Cricket 5G requires a compatible device and is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and restrictions apply. See store for details.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the March Spring Sale, March 15th through the 25th, and get 35% off paints and stains with prices starting at $28.92. That means 35% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 35% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Extra Point with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Friday morning. Talking to our guy Elijah Campbell, who is live out at the SEC Men's Tournament in Nashville. Again, getting you set for today's matchup between the Gamecocks and the Auburn Tigers. Tip-off around 3:30, depending on what time game number 1 ends. Pregame coverage starting right here at 3 o'clock. A lot of news going on, though, over the course of the past 24 hours. Of course, it was right about this time yesterday that we learned about Lamont Paris's contract extension, well-deserved, obviously, and he's going to be locked in through the 2029-2030 season here at South Carolina with a pretty significant raise as well. But later on in the afternoon, we did learn that Jerry Stackhouse was being let go as the head coach at Vanderbilt. You and I had this conversation the other day leading into Arkansas's game against Vanderbilt in round number 1, and you even said that you thought Vanderbilt would be willing to give Jerry Stackhouse, who again is 1 year removed from being the SEC Coach of the Year and taking Vanderbilt to back-to-back NIT quarterfinals. You thought they'd give him 1 more year, but they unfortunately did cut bait with him yesterday.
Yeah, and there was that feeling in the press conference of maybe this was the end. You know, it felt odd sitting in there with Jerry Stackhouse trying to defend his job while Candace Story-Lee, the athletic director, sat maybe a couple rows behind me, and I'm kind of just like looking back and forth and trying to get any type of inkling, you know, as to what the situation might end up being. But I think Vanderbilt has an idea already of who they might want. Talking to some people that still cover the Vanderbilt Commodores and that still have pretty good ears to the ground on the situation there, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going with Chris Mack. What I've been told is that they really like Chris Mack, the former Louisville and Xavier head coach, and who left Louisville under some really interesting circumstances. But he is the primary name, I think, to watch out for when it comes to Vanderbilt basketball. And, you know, I don't know if it happens. And I was talking to actually one of my old bosses in Nashville last night. He said, I don't think it happens, but, you know, there could be some campaigning for Will Wade. Will Wade's a Nashville guy. He went to Franklin Road Academy right outside Nashville. He's very well connected. He coached at Tennessee Chattanooga. Nobody knows the area in recruiting better than Will Wade. And you know, the good blank offers that he was giving Javonte Smart and LSU and some of those players are now legalities in the college athletics landscape today. So maybe his baggage isn't what it would have been 5, 6, 7 years ago, but while I don't think they ultimately end up going that and rolling that dice, I would seriously consider that if I was Candace Story-Lee, because Will Wade's gotten back into college basketball for 1 year and completely dominated the South Lane Conference with McNeese State and has turned them into a really solid team. That's going to be a 13 or 14 seed that I'm not going to want to play in the NCAA tournament, to be honest with you. That's exactly what he's gotten McNeese State to right now. So if I'm Vanderbilt, I think that's what I would do. But based off the intel I've kind of gotten, Chris Mack is what they're more likely to do.
Well, in reference to Will Wade, as we learned with Rick Pitino, if you're a good enough basketball coach, you'll find your way back in high-level college basketball sooner rather than later. On the flip side of things, very similar to Lamont Paris, a couple other coaches getting extensions yesterday, one being Todd Golden down there at Florida, who is also in his second year. Very solid first year. Did go 9-9 and made it to the NIT. A much more successful second year, similar to Lamont Paris, 21-10 overall, 11-7 in conference play, and he's also being locked up through the 2029-2030 season down there in Gainesville.
Yeah, and that's good for them. I'm a big believer in Todd Golden. I thought that was one of the better hires in that coaching cycle. I think his work at San Francisco was phenomenal. He was on a staff previously out in San Francisco with Kyle Smith, who has now been head coach at Washington State and led them to the number 2 finish in the Pac-12 and a regular season sweep of the Pac-12 champion, Arizona. And I wouldn't count out Washington State to win the Pac-12 tournament and increase their seed for the NCAA tournament. I mean, Washington State's not a team that's in it every year. Kyle Smith helped take him there. Todd Golden coached with him at San Fran, and now Todd Golden's doing a really good job on his own as a head coach at Florida, and he'll be taking his second team to the NCAA tournament like Lamont Paris this season. And I think the SEC is in a really cool place, Tyler, where we have a couple of coaches that are going to be – or that are early on in their careers here. And I think you're going to see them coaching for a very long time. Chris Beard, I think, even got extended to a couple of days ago, even though this was probably one of his worst coaching jobs this season. I really wasn't impressed with the year that Ole Miss had with the talent that they had on the roster. But you have a bunch of guys that are getting extensions that are going to be here for a long time, and that's going to develop really good matchups and rivalries for years on end, having that type of continuity. Yeah, that's why you know, I kind of hope Vanderbilt gets this hire right, and that we can have a group of coaches who are of similar age that can be able to take this league forward into or pushing its momentum into, you know, a new era with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, to where we're still going to be able to be a top basketball conference in the country. I think the league made a big step forward this year, and schools like South Carolina and Florida locking up their coaches for longer-term deals, I think only ensures that we're going to be able to have that type of success as a league for further on.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And the Big 12 has been kind of the top dog when it comes to college basketball for a long time, but especially when you look at what's happened this year, and we'll see what happens as far as deep runs in the tournament goes. But I think SEC is nipping at its heels, perhaps closer than it has truly ever been. And again, these coaches being locked in for the long term only furthers that opportunity to be even closer, maybe even surpass them here in the near future. Before we let you go, Elijah, I want to thank our friends over at Cool Care Heating, Air, Plumbing, and Electrical, as well as Atkins Law, for allowing you to be out there at the SEC tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool Care, Heating and Air, Plumbing and Refrigeration. Thanks for them covering my sponsoring my coverage. Can't even speak. Sponsoring my coverage, and then Atkins Law Firm for sponsoring our social media content. Ironically enough, their tagline is "Who you hire matters," and we just did a whole segment on why who you hire really matters. So, some very fitting sponsors, and thankful for their ability to help us out and send me here to Nashville for the week.
I was going to say, it's almost like we planned those things out.
I mean, this is shout out to the sales team for knowing what they're doing here. I mean, this feels like 4D checkers at this point. It's really well done.
All right, well, have fun. We'll catch up with you later and continue to preview this matchup today against Auburn. Again, that's Elijah Campbell out there at the SEC Men's Tournament. Hour number 2 of the Extra Point coming up here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios, this is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory, and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Ball forward, take your base. The only thing worse than a pitcher running out of gas on the mound is your old phone running out of storage for your photos in the stands. Goodbye, home run.
Switch to Verizon and get a great deal on a new iPhone 15 Pro with tons of storage for all the ballpark pics you want. Just trade in your iPhone, any model, in any condition, so you'll feel like you're winning, even when your team's not. Trade in any iPhone in any condition for a great deal on iPhone 15 Pro with Unlimited Ultimate, and get iPad and Apple Watch SE with eligible service plan. Only on Verizon.
That's Mike saying good morning. It's the best he can do right now. Yeah, not a cloud in the sky. What Mike could use is a fresh start. And Irish Spring Body Wash. The fresh scent of Irish Spring and those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset Mike needs. Now he's ready
to go to work.
It's Sunday. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring at Walmart today.
If you are considering selling or buying a home, you need to call Steve Hood at Southern Charm Realty. He has the experience and knowledge you can trust. Want to know what your home is worth? Go to LakeMurraySteve.com and get an instant property valuation. Their user-friendly website is easy to navigate and updates new listings every 15 minutes so you can get the listings first. Bottom line, Steve's going to save you money on the cost of selling your home. Give Steve a call today at 803-722-0136 or go to LakeMurraySteve.com. 803-722-0136.
The 89th running of the Carolina Cup Races presented by MUSC Health. March 30th in Camden, South Carolina. It's where spring begins. Make your plans now to attend this great Southern tradition for the best tailgating, entertainment, fashion, and fun for kids and adults of all ages. Gates open at 9 a.m., rain or shine. Come see fantastic thoroughbreds, jump the fences, and race to victory. Get your tickets now and plan to party with family and friends all day. Visit carolinacup.org for tickets and details. Don't miss it. Saturday, March 30th. Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Platte Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
Hey Columbia, are you tired of waiting around for your car to be serviced? Well, at Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia, every Thursday is 30-Minute Thursday. Yes, in just 30 minutes, whether it's an oil change, a battery replacement, or even a tire rotation, their expert techs ensure top-notch service. So why wait? Get your life back in a jiffy. Schedule your appointment today by calling 803-739-2999. That's 739-2999. Or visit them online at wetzelsauto.com. Wetzel's Automotive, they're Otis approved.
I like daffodils, tulips, the big dinner plate dahlias. I loved being in the garden, but I wasn't going to be able to because I couldn't not only walk, but I couldn't really stand on my foot without being in pain. It was excruciating. So my husband said, let's go to the Good Feet store.
For over 20 years, we've helped people like Terry live the life they love without letting their feet get in the way.
This nice young man said, I think I can help you. He got the arch support, and I was fitted. And I kept walking back and forth across the store, and I looked at my husband and burst into tears because it was the first time in a year that I have not had any pain in my foot. I have had no pain since the day I bought them. Now I can do whatever I want. There isn't any place on my property that doesn't have flowers blooming 365 days a year. I still can't believe it. My name is Terry, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Stop by the Good Feet store in Columbia near Whole Foods for a free fitting. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit
WNKT FM Eastover, Columbia.
This is Gamecock quarterback Spencer Rattler, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, the home of the Gamecocks.
A Cumulus media station. It's the Garnet Trust Hour.
On your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point, hour number 2. Tyler Head along with you on your Friday morning here on The Game, talking all things men's basketball as we get set for the quarterfinal matchup between the Gamecocks and Auburn. Again, that's coming up at 3:30, around 3:30 this afternoon. Pregame coverage will start at 3 o'clock. Tip-off time really depends on how long game number 1 lasts between Tennessee and Mississippi State. I know Mississippi State and LSU ran a little bit long yesterday, which kind of pushed that tip time between the Gamecocks and the Razorbacks back just a little bit yesterday. So very excited to see what happens today. And for South Carolina, winning the game yesterday, I think, and I've seen a lot of people speculate on this as well, probably locks them up as a 5 seed. Now, could you run your way through the tournament, win the whole thing, and maybe have a shot at being a 4? Yes. I don't know if that's necessarily a guarantee. So it's kind of one of those things where South Carolina's probably locked up their spot already, and anything that they can do past this is gravy. And, depending on what happens with teams around the country in their respective conference championships, maybe things can swing a little bit into South Carolina's favor, but there's no guarantee on that as of right now. Looking at latest bracketology, and Lenardi does a really good job of updating this a lot more this time of year with all the conference tournaments going on leading up to Selection Sunday coming up on Sunday. Has South Carolina slated as a 5 seed still, would be taking on McNeese in the Spokane Regional they'd be the 12 seed. That would match up the winner with the winner of either Kansas, who would be the 4, and VCU, which is being slotted in as the number 13 seed. They'd be on the side of the bracket as of right now with Purdue at the very top, Marquette as the number 2, and then, let's see here, Kentucky as the number 3. So a lot of tough company, as you would with any side of the bracket, but some tough company there. That South Carolina would obviously be familiar with the likes of Kentucky, should they end up matching up with them at some point over on that process. But again, things can change over the course of the weekend. Looking on the other side of the bracket, also in the Spokane Regional, though, got Auburn as a number 4 seed. They are projected to take on the 13 seed in Charleston, a team that won their conference tournament the other day. So, again, South Carolina maybe can make your case for potentially jumping in that 4th spot by beating a projected number 4 right now in Auburn, but that's not a guarantee. But at the very least, you can say that South Carolina likely going to be a 5 going into the tournament coming up, next week. We talked about this in the last hour with South Carolina kind of having a slow start yesterday, taking on Arkansas. While there's certainly benefits to having the extra days of rest, especially for teams like Auburn today that are on the double bye that have not played a single game so far in the SEC men's tournament, there is also something that can go into having at least one game under your belt and getting some of the rust knocked off after having a few extra days of rest leading into it. Here's Coach Paris yesterday talking about how playing that extra game might actually benefit his team.
It's only bad to play this game if you lose this game. I mean, if you win this game, it can work to especially when you play well. And I thought we played well today in a lot of different ways. Our general body of work was really good, so it can work to get you going. If you don't play till Friday, that's a long break. It's one of the longest breaks you've had all season, outside of your bye week. And so it was good to get back into it. We're in the flow. You get a feel for it. You watch a couple of games yesterday, so I think it could really work to your benefit, and hopefully it has. We played really well today. The guys will go get rested. We'll watch a little tape tonight, and hopefully some of the guys that did some really good things will carry that forward in terms of confidence as we prepare to play a really, really good team tomorrow.
And for South Carolina, you're taking on a team in Auburn that beat you pretty handily on the Plains a couple weeks back by 40 points. Worst loss of the season, obviously. One that worried a lot of people, like, oh no, is South Carolina starting to go off track? I've said it didn't end up happening, despite the fact they lost the next game to LSU. They ended up getting back on track and closing out the regular season strong. And I was thinking about this when I was driving in this morning. This might be the first time in a while, maybe even going back to the first matchup South Carolina had with Tennessee, that being the one they won on the road in Knoxville. I think this might be the first time that a lot of people are looking at this and saying, yeah, South Carolina doesn't have a chance to win this game. Because, and I'm saying that from a national standpoint, not necessarily a local standpoint, because I think we all believe that South Carolina has the ability to match up and beat just about anybody, as they've proven this year. But I think so many people look at that 40-point loss and look at, how good Auburn's played this entire season. Again, projected to be a number 4 seed, and say, yeah, it is a game that is in a neutral site compared to being at home in Neville Arena, but there's no way South Carolina is going to be able to match up with them, right? And I do wonder how much of that noise potentially gets back to the team to where they can mold that into that chip on the shoulder that they've played with for so much of the entire season. For the early part of the season, it was, of course, hey, everybody thinks we're going to finish dead last in the SEC. Let's go out there and prove them wrong. Hey, we're finally winning games. They don't want to rank us. They don't want to talk about us from a national standpoint. Let's go out there and give them a reason to rank us. Let's go out there and give them a reason to talk about us, and that's exactly what South Carolina's done. So now they've been in this position for the past handful of weeks of the regular season to, like, hey, everybody knows we're good. Everybody thinks that we're good at this point in time. Where is that, hey, they're doubting us kind of motivation coming from, which South Carolina's still done a good job winning without having that anymore. But here's your opportunity, I feel like, to, again, kind of mold that chip on your shoulder once again to say, hey, nobody's giving us a chance against this Auburn team because we lost to them so bad the first time. Let's go out there and prove them wrong. Again, something this team has gotten very good at doing this season. Speaking of that first matchup against Auburn, Coach Paris, after the game yesterday, of course, knowing that they were going to be rematching with the Tigers coming up today, talked about things that they could improve on from that first game out there in Neville Arena.
Yeah, I mean, we sat down and watched the film. There were a lot of things, I almost threw the film out just because it was an anomaly in the way that they performed as shooters. I mean, they had, I think, 9 made threes out of their 4 and their 5, right? And so, and they weren't just stare-down threes that we saw. There wasn't a whole lot. I didn't yell at the guys. I don't think it was from lack of effort. I think they outplayed us. So, it was, at their place, it may have been an uphill battle either way, but they outplayed us. But then they shot the ball incredibly well, so it turned out to what it was. But so we just we'll go back. There's nothing I'm going to do. There aren't enough fixes to not lose by 40, to go from losing by 40 to winning the game. There aren't that many things. So we got to do what we normally do, play our way, defend at a high level, finish plays off with a rebound, and then be aggressive on the offensive end. Hopefully we'll just play better, and to some degree, hopefully they won't shoot the ball like that. That would be some real bad karma if they could do that twice in a row against us.
And, it's hard from the standpoint of just saying, oh, well, it's one of those games that happens sometimes and being able to write it off that way. But when you look at the rest of South Carolina's season, even in the games they lost, and none of them really compare to the game against Auburn. And yes, you got beat pretty handily by Alabama, but that was a game that South Carolina was in at halftime. This game against Auburn earlier on in the season is one that just got away from South Carolina pretty quickly. I'm trying to see what the halftime score. Yeah, halftime score was 50-28 in favor of Auburn. You kind of knew at that point in time, all right, well, Auburn's probably going to win this game pretty handily, and that's exactly what happened. So as hard as it can be, I think that is one that you just kind of have to throw out and kind of put to the back burner and say, you know what, that was a one-night anomaly. We're not going to have that problem again, especially when you look at some of the numbers that Auburn put up in that game. As a team, they shot 61% from the field and 60% from three. I mean, they were just on point that night. That was just a night where every shot they put up seemingly went in. Jalen Williams was 5 of 7 from beyond three. And there was no prior game this season where he had even attempted more than 5 3-pointers, let alone made that many. So, again, I think just that speaks to what kind of an anomaly that game was. And, look, South Carolina could go out there and win, or lose this game today. It wouldn't be the end of the world if they did. But I'd be very surprised if they lost by 40 points again. I think this is one of those things where matching up with the team for a second time, being more familiar with what they are doing in a tournament type of setting should stand to benefit South Carolina, hopefully coming up later on today. And again, even if you lose this game, you're still most likely going to be a 5 seed, still in a good position, all that kind of stuff. So regardless of what happens, South Carolina's still got more basketball to play starting next week with the NCAA tournament. I will say this Auburn team, another one very, very fast. And as we saw in that earlier matchup in Auburn, that if they get out to a significant lead early, it's going to be very hard for South Carolina to claw their way back. A team like Arkansas yesterday plays at a moderately fast tempo, but South Carolina was still able to, slowly and steadily chip away at that lead before ultimately taking it over, late in the first half there. Auburn's a different story. They will run up and down the court as fast as they can, and if South Carolina finds themselves in a 10-point, 12-point hole early on in this one, that can be troublesome for them to attempt to climb their way out of. But again, that game coming up today at 3:30. Pregame coverage starting at 3 o'clock right here on the game. I want to remind you as well, baseball coming up tonight as they take on Ole Miss to start off conference play. 7:30 first pitch pregame coverage starting at 7:15 here on the game. Of course, you can also register on 1075thegame.com for the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. It's going to be going on all season long. When a Gamecock hitter inevitably hits Grand Slam, you could be the lucky recipient of however much money is in the pot. Currently sitting at $450 as of right now. And again, $25 goes in each and every game. So head over to 1075thegame.com and register for your chance to win the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. We'll talk a little bit of baseball coming up next because, yes, the Gamecocks are in their first SEC action of the season, taking on Ole Miss on the road. We'll dive into it, hear a little bit from Coach Kingston as well as we get set for that matchup on the road out there in Oxford coming up this weekend. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Friday morning here on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. 107.5 The Game on demand podcast menu.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, our team is here to get you better sooner.
On the home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Hello, Saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC. Plus tax and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. JT is throwing a party this weekend for Kia Mania. JT's giving away a new Kia Saturday 5 p.m. at both the Greystone and Killian Road locations. So come on out. Plus there's food, fun, and games for the kids Saturday and Sunday. Everyone who comes can spin our prize wheel for cash and prizes. JT is loaded with new 2024 Kia Souls, Sportages, and Fortes. 0 down, 0 payments for 6 months. JT gives a huge cash back check with every new Kia. JT's Kia Mania is back.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Golf in the Midlands is a staple of what makes Columbia great. And Charwood Golf Club is ready to host you and your friends for a great day on the links. Call Charwood today and line up that tee time, 803-755-2000, or you can visit them on the web, charwood.com. Charwood Golf Club has a great 18-hole layout that'll challenge you and your buddies and give you a great experience. So call today, 803-755-2000, and book that tee time.
We are so excited. Sound and Images has upgraded to a phenomenal facility at 807 Bluff Road, right there across the street from our friends at the State Fair. We have new upgraded facilities, video conferencing room experience that will seat up to 35 people depending on configuration. We also have meeting space and venue space on property to offer our partners at Sound and Images. Please contact Sound and Images at soundandimages.net, your commercial AV installation and live event production specialists.
My wife and I we ended up mildly sick for a few months, and the nasal congestion was probably the worst part. I had like a post-nasal drip, just super congested all the time. We were taking everything we possibly could, but nothing really worked.
Kyrie was miserable until a friend recommended Navage. Navage offers immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Don't live in misery this cold season. Use Navage so you can breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
The biggest thing Navage has done has completely cleaned out my nasal passages. It was from the first use. I was able to just clear out anything that was stopping me from breathing correctly. Navage helps me clear the way, literally clear the way for me to operate better in the rest of my life.
Experience the Navage difference yourself. Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we know how serious injuries change people's lives. I'm Jason Reynolds. When you're involved in a major car or truck accident, my team is on your side. You don't have to be alone. Let's do this together.
And I'm Steven Samuels. When you're hurt at work, my team is with you from start to finish. We're people with a passion for helping injured workers. Bring your case to us and stop the worrying. We've got this.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
It's the Garnet Trust Hour.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head with you on this Friday morning still. I was getting confused. I host so many shows on here. It can be difficult to say the right thing sometimes. But, of course, basketball, the main thing going on today. Also going to have baseball in action tonight. 7:30 first pitch, 7:15 pregame as the baseball team is on the road at Ole Miss out there in Oxford, starting SEC play for this season. Coach Kingston the other day in his media availability talked a little bit about his assessment of what he has seen from the SEC so far this season as he gets set for conference play.
Biggest thing is you can see some of the teams that really went heavy into the portal, especially offensively, have made pretty big jumps. You look at Georgia, they made a big jump and they went heavy into the portal. I just think you see throughout the league, you're just seeing a lot of good teams, a lot of excellence. Texas A&M has been dominant. They're undefeated up until this point. So I just think the SEC is only going to continue to get better and deeper the more this transfer portal thing takes over, because just every team is going to be talented, every team is going to be old, and so as I've said before, it's going to be a tug of war. Every weekend is going to be a tug of war, and at the end you just want to make sure you're in a position to advance to the NCAA tournament, because I think if you can survive this grind in our league, all of our teams will have a chance to go pretty far in the postseason.
And to the surprise of no one, the SEC occupying a lot of spots in D1 baseball's top 25. Arkansas recently just being bumped up to number 1. LSU right behind them at number 2. A&M coming in at 4. Tennessee at 5. So SEC occupying 4 of the top 5 spots in D1 baseball rankings. You got Florida at number 8. Vanderbilt at number 9. Bama at 14. Auburn at 18. South Carolina at 20. And then, yeah, that'll do it for the current SEC teams in there as of right now. But a lot of great programs across the SEC for yet another season. As we know, the SEC is routinely the best conference when it comes to college baseball, and this season will likely be no different. So South Carolina with their first true road test of the season coming up this weekend. We talked about this with Stuart Lake yesterday while we were out at Firehouse Subs, that you had that one game against Clemson on the road a couple weeks back, but that was a one-game situation, and only an hour or so up the road. So it's not a true road type of environment when it comes to the full weekend experience. And as silly as it may sound, Stuart Lake, did go on to say that there is something about, the hotel and going through your routine and all that kind of stuff, playing in a different stadium and, figuring out where things are and all those kind of things that do sound a bit trivial, but when you really break it all down is very vital and very important to the comfortability of playing the game of baseball. So going on the road talks for this weekend, going to be the first true road test for this team of the season. We'll see how they how they respond to that. And it's a tough place, as most environments are in the SEC. It's always going to have a rowdy crowd, one that's very passionate about the game of baseball, and Oxford is certainly one that falls in to that category. And you have a program in Ole Miss that's looking for a rebound this year. This was the team that 2 years ago was your national champion, and then they missed the postseason a season ago, and that's unacceptable out there. In that or in the SEC in general, especially if you're a team that won the national championship. You're at least expected to, I'd say you're expected to at least get back to a super the next year, let alone just get back to the postseason in some form or fashion, and Ole Miss was not able to do that. So this is truly their first opportunity to maybe make a statement in SEC play for 2024. And for South Carolina, it's the best competition they've faced since Clemson. Again, you did not want to lose those 2 games, but it's tight games, and if one or two things go differently, certainly South Carolina can string together a couple more hits with runners on, then you're maybe talking about Carolina only having 1 loss on the season, that being the one to Belmont a couple of Saturdays ago. There are a couple of guys in Ole Miss's lineup that you do need to be aware of as far as their abilities at the plate. Ethan Legge, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. Their left fielder and their cleanup hitter, that's .379, which leads the team. He's also second in the SEC as far as his on-base percentage goes. So somebody that's certainly going to be a factor for Ole Miss coming up this weekend. And batting right in front of him, playing first base, Jackson Ross, the leader in the SEC in total walks with 24 on the season. This team as a whole averages about 10 walks per game, and we know that Coach Kingston has talked so much about that this season, with South Carolina and how good their plate discipline has been. Well, Ole Miss is even better at that plate discipline than South Carolina, and that's something that could certainly prove to be a factor this upcoming weekend, especially if South Carolina is struggling to throw strikes. Because, again, this is a team that is not going to swing at bad pitches as they've proven once again this season. As far as the weekend rotation goes, very similar to last weekend. You have a locked in Friday and Saturday stars with Eli Jones and Dylan Eskew, but very similarly to last weekend as well, you still have a TBA as far as your Sunday starter goes. And talking about this with Stuart Lake yesterday, I think he and what we all kind of believe this to be is having your options open, to be able to use a lot of guys in different ways and kind of seeing how things shake out. Because at the end of the day, winning the series is the most important thing. Yes, you'd love a clean sweep every single weekend. That'd be fantastic, but that's not the end-all be-all. As long as you're getting 2 wins over the course of 3 games, that is what matters ultimately. And if you are in a situation on Saturday late in the game and you feel like Roman Kimball coming out of the bullpen is going to be able to help you win that game, but you've already got him locked in as your Sunday starter, well, it's one of those things, especially if you've already won on Friday night. It's like, okay, we can either lock up the series right here by winning this game or just wait until Sunday with Roman Kimball and hopefully get a good start out of him, even though we may feel like he's the best-case scenario in this bullpen situation. So that's kind of the thought process that goes into these kind of things. Like, okay, we just want to kind of leave the door open because you have a guy in Kimball. You have Becker, who's been coming out of the bullpen, who could be a starter, as we've seen him do in the past before, and guys like Ty Good, who ended up getting the start last weekend against Longwood on Sunday. And while it wasn't, I'd say a lights out performance, he only gave up the 1 earned run, that being on the home run in that game. So a solid outing nonetheless, especially for your first start here at South Carolina, and I'll be interested to see how they go about playing that this weekend. But I think that speaks to the depth of your pitching staff, that you have so many viable options as starters and guys out of the bullpen that you can kind of leave it open to interpretation as the weekend goes along and kind of see what options are going to be available for you when Sunday rolls around based on how much work you've given your bullpen over the course of the weekend. So pitching hopefully going to be a strong suit for South Carolina. They do have the second best ERA in the nation as a team. Ole Miss actually not too terribly far behind that with a 3.97 themselves, which is good for 35th in the nation. What they do really well, though, is throw strikes. They are 10th in all of college baseball with strikeouts, and they've had double-digit strikeouts in 9 of their 13 games so far that they've played, played this season. So, again, when you talk about play discipline, South Carolina's been very good at that. Taking which pitches you want to swing at and which ones you want to take is going to be very important this weekend, especially against a team like Ole Miss, again, that does throw a lot of strikes. But I'm excited just kind of, again, really see what this team's going to be as far as conference play goes. There is still going to be time to improve on things. So if they did go into Oxford this weekend and got swept, then don't cancel your plans of potentially attending a regional or something like that, because things can certainly improve as the season goes along. But be a good test, especially in a road environment, to see where this team is, especially before taking on Vanderbilt coming up next weekend, which, again, the SEC slate does not get any easier and certainly doesn't in these first 2 series for South Carolina. So that'll be going on all weekend long. Again, 7:30 first pitch tonight. Coming up tomorrow afternoon, you have a 2:30 first pitch, and then Sunday also with a 2:30 first pitch. All those games out there in Oxford, and we'll see how that goes as far as going head-to-head with men's basketball if they do end up winning that game today against Auburn and advancing to the semifinals coming up tomorrow. Speaking of basketball, I want to get back into the conversation about the NCAA tournament and its potential for expansion. Greg Sankey said something recently that I think really speaks volumes to what this expansion is going to look like whenever it inevitably does happen. We'll dive into that coming up. Tyler Head along with you on the Extra Point on your Friday morning here on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been this year. What's so funny? The noise.
You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app now.
Hey, Scott here from Traditions Fine Jewelers. When it comes to diamonds, everybody knows that we have the best selection. But did you know that we also have the best prices? How do we do it? In Mine Diamonds, we work directly with the largest cutters, and in lab-grown diamonds, by working directly with the growing laboratories, which allows us to offer you the best quality at the very best price. Like a lab-grown 1-carat diamond for just $999, or a 2-carat for just $2,999. We've even got a beautiful colorless 3-carat diamond for just $4,999. And once you've picked your diamond, we can help you pick exactly the right engagement ring style from our selection of over 1,000 rings, or we can help you design a custom ring that meets your exact specifications. So do your homework and see what diamonds are selling for online, and then come see us. You'll get exactly what you want at the very best price. Only at Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset Boulevard in Lexington, and in Sand Hills, where the Midlands get engaged.
There's no better place to be in the spring than at Founders Park, cheering on the Gamecock baseball team. Get your single game tickets today. Tickets start as low as $12. Visit GamecocksOnline.com to get yours today.
What you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, the best selection of new Chevys. Right now, no hassle, no ridiculous add-on stickers. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Powered by Integrated Media, the Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
At Progressive, we're making things even easier. We'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you could save on both. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
If you are considering selling or buying a home, you need to call Steve Hood at Southern Charm Realty. He has the experience and knowledge you can trust. Want to know what your home is worth? Go to LakeMurraySteve.com and get an instant property valuation. Their user-friendly website is easy to navigate and updates new listings every 15 minutes so you can get the listings first. Bottom line, Steve's going to save you money on the cost of selling your home. Give Steve a call today at 803-722-0136 or go to LakeMurraySteve.com. 803-722-0136.
Plus text and title with approved credit call 888-320-6359 for details. JT is throwing a party this weekend for Kia Mania. JT's giving away a new Kia Saturday 5 p.m. at both the Greystone and Killian Road locations. So come on out. Plus there's food, fun, and games for the kids Saturday and Sunday. Everyone who comes can spin our prize wheel for cash and prizes. JT is loaded with new 2024 Kia Souls, Sportages, and Fortes. 0 down, 0 payments for 6 months. JT gives a huge cash back check with every new Kia. JT's Kia Mania is back.
Get your taste buds ready. Chicken Parm just got an upgrade. The new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub from Firehouse Subs is made with savory chicken meatballs and a bright marinara sauce topped with shaved Parmesan, melted provolone, and crispy Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, served on a toasted garlic bread roll. Try the new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs. Order online or on the app today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives.
Not even the most well-kept homes are immune to termites, so call Dodson Pest Control. With over 75 years of experience, they will make sure your home is looking good inside and outside your walls. Visit DodsonBROS.com to find an office near you. Dodson, the pest professionals you trust.
What's up, folks? Anthony Armstrong here. Bob Papa, along with Super Bowl champion Carl Banks.
Hey, NFL fans. This is Solomon Wilcox, former NFL safety and host of the Believe in Bengals podcast. Catch my show and all 32 Believe NFL podcasts. Listen in to former players give their inside perspective on your favorite team. Search Believe, that's BLEAV, on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
It's always football season, wherever you listen.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. Next Point, Tyler Head with you on this Friday. Talking all things basketball this morning. It's the SEC tournament rolls on. Things getting kicked off today with Tennessee and Mississippi State playing the first game of the day. That'll tip off at 1 o'clock, and that'll lead into South Carolina and Auburn coming up at around 3:30, again, depending on what time that game ends. Good for Mississippi State yesterday, picking up their win against LSU. In a lot of people's eyes, that might just be enough to get them in the NCAA tournament. Certainly beating Tennessee today would go a long way with that, but even just being competitive against what is legitimately one of the best teams in the country in Tennessee can certainly help out Mississippi State's case, as well as, going back to this past weekend where South Carolina went on the road and picked up the win in Starkville. A lot of people thought that that might be the dagger for Mississippi State to keep them out of the NCAA tournament. As of this morning, with Lenardi's latest bracketology, they do have the Bulldogs in as one of the last 4 byes, so in the field of 64 as of right now. And certainly if they were able to beat Tennessee today, that would go a long way as well. But they are an example of a team sitting at, 20-12, that is just barely making the NCAA tournament. With all the talk of change going on across the landscape of college sports, the notion of expanding the NCAA tournament is coming up quite a bit, especially as of late. And even going into yesterday on ESPN, Pete Thamel reporting that there is serious consideration for the tournament to expand in the near future, somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 80 teams. Now, initially, we had heard rumors. Here's the official statement from his article on ESPN. According to sources, there's an ongoing discussion about expanding the men's NCAA basketball tournament from the current 68-team format to one featuring no more than 80 teams. There's also fears about what could happen to the all-comers tournament if power leagues break away from the rest of college athletics as football decisions continue to define the direction of major college sports. So again, expansion potentially on the horizon, with this tournament going to somewhere in the neighborhood of about 80 teams. And I said this the other week because we are all very quick to downplay the expansion of the NCAA tournament, and there had been the rumored potential 96-team tournament getting thrown out there quite a bit over the course of months as a true extreme when it comes to expansion that I think a lot of us, rightfully so, shot down quite a bit. The 80 thing is interesting to me from the standpoint of if you do it right, I don't think it is terrible necessarily, and there is the added caveat that you've added a lot more teams to Division I, so in a way it kind of balances out the numbers a little bit. My way of thinking with this would be, all right, well, you are technically adding 12 more teams to the NCAA tournament. However, if you structure this as all those teams, new teams, being a part of a play-in tournament, then I don't necessarily have a problem with it. Because as of right now, you have the play-in games, which are 4, the first 4. Obviously, winners of those make their way in the NCAA tournament. So essentially, you'd just be adding 2 more rounds to that, to where, all right, you have a group of 16 teams that are trying to play their way in the NCAA tournament. Play 1 round of games. 8 teams advance to that. Play a second round of games. 8 teams advance to that. Then you play a third round of games, which would be what we now know as the first 4. I don't completely hate that idea. Again, it's and depending on who you talk to, some people consider making the first 4 being in the tournament. Some people don't. I think doing it this way would probably have more people consider those teams being in the tournament than what we have with the first 4 as of right now, which isn't a terrible thing. And that's something that you can do over the course of a couple of days before the tournament starts proper, like it usually does coming up at the end of next week. So I don't totally hate that idea, as long as we are truly trying to find, teams 69 through 80 that aren't in the NCAA tournament, not feeding more power programs into the tournament itself. I want representation from some of these smaller leagues. One of the biggest stories going on in college basketball this year has been the rise of Indiana State. And Indiana State being a team that put together a ton of wins this year. Sure, it's not against the best opponents, but they played who they've played, and they played within their conference, lost to Drake in their conference championship the other week, and now looking at Lenardi's latest bracketology, they're in the first 4 out. That's a team that, at least in my opinion, deserves a shot in the NCAA tournament to prove what they can do, because you never know. And if you want to expand the field to 80 teams to include more teams like that from these one-bid type of leagues that otherwise aren't getting their opportunities, I'm all for it. Absolutely. Sign me up. Put those teams in a theoretical expanded play-in tournament. The problem, though, and I think this is highlighted in Pete Thamel's article on ESPN by none other than, the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, is that this is likely not the way that it's going to go. Sankey says, and I quote, "That just tells you that the bandwidth inside of the top 50 is highly competitive. We are giving away highly competitive opportunities for automatic qualifiers from smaller leagues, and I think that pressure is going to rise as we have more competitive basketball leagues at the top end because of expansion." Now, he does bring up a good point. You are expanding all these leagues, with the Pac-12 falling off into the Pacific Ocean, to where the SEC is going to be at 16 teams, the Big Ten is going to be at 18 teams, the Big 12 is going to be at 16 teams, and the ACC, because Notre Dame actually plays in conference outside of football, is also going to be at 18 teams as well. So in his mind, he's basically saying we want to open up more opportunities for teams within these power conferences to get in, because there's going to be that self-cannibalization, to where next year we're going to look at a team that is, 18 and 14 or something along those lines, and say, well, yeah, but they played more. There's more teams in the conference, and there's more of, again, this self-cannibalization. We still think that team should be in the NCAA tournament, as opposed to maybe a mid-major team that won 22, 23 games or something like that and is not going to get a shot. Again, and I understand why Greg Sankey is saying these things, because, of course, the power conferences are going to look out for themselves, look out for what's best in their conference, and the more teams you have in the tournament, the better chances that you have of making the Final Four and, ultimately winning the NCAA tournament at the end of the day. So I don't know how this decision ultimately gets made, as opposed to the college football playoff, where you have the commissioners of all the 10 respective Division I conferences and Notre Dame all sitting in a room and agreeing on a format. I don't know how that necessarily works with the NCAA tournament and having literally, 32 some odd conferences being represented, in the NCAA tournament. So I don't know if you have to have agreement across the board, or if it's a, majority vote or something like that. But we do know that the power conferences, the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC do at the end of the day hold most of the cards and can make these decisions, usually if they want to. And again, when you're talking about an expanded tournament, especially when it has more of these brand name teams like Texas, like Oklahoma, like, whoever it may be that might be sliding into one of these, lower end spots with an expanded NCAA tournament, well, that's more eyeballs on the TV. And as much as we love the NCAA tournament, and most of us watch it regardless of who's playing, a theoretical expanded tournament with more play-in games pitting, Texas, let's just say, and I'm just using this example. I know Texas is a very good program and likely wouldn't find themselves in this scenario, but let's just say Texas is one of the lower ends to get into the tournament. And they're playing a play-in game against Miami. Again, Miami, very good program, but just using an example here. Those two brands alone are going to draw a lot more attention and a lot more eyes to a casual, audience, as opposed to, Providence and Radford playing each other in that same type of game in an expanded tournament. At the end of the day, money drives everything. It is the root of why we have all this change across the landscape of college sports with expansion and realignment and all that kind of stuff. It all boils down to money. And if the NCAA and these leagues see the opportunity to add more of these big name programs into the NCAA tournament to drive ratings and to drive more revenue, they're going to do it. And is that going to water down the NCAA tournament in some ways? I think so, in some people's eyes. Does that mean that you're going to have teams suddenly make a run from the, being in the round one of the play-in to the national championship? Probably not. Could there be an anomaly? Sure. We've seen it happen in the past before. But I think it's just more about cramming more of these power programs into the NCAA tournament at the end of the day and trying to drive more revenue more than anything else, which, again, we haven't been able to stop them to this point, so there's no reason why they would slow down, at this point either. So it seems like it's coming in the near future. I would love to see more mid-majors get representation and get an opportunity in this kind of thing, but unfortunately it does not seem like that is going to happen. So enjoy the 64-team tournament for however long we have it. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2 years, who knows? Because, again, it seems like college sports are going to change once again with expanding the NCAA tournament here in the near future. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 of the Extra Point before diving into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. It's Tyler Head along with you on this Friday morning here on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
Got something to say?
Ring us up on the Love Chevy phone line. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer.
At 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
I'm Amy Lawrence with the CBS Sports Minute. The Boston Celtics are the first team to clinch a playoff spot this season, fitting right before St. Patrick's Day. With a record of 52-14, they are clear by nearly 10 games in the Eastern Conference, by far the best record in the NBA, and it seems like they're getting better. Jaylen Brown is on a tear. They're shooting the lights out from beyond the arc, 25 three-pointers against Phoenix last night. Who can battle Boston in the East? I'm Amy Lawrence. CBS Sports
Purchase new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts today and we'll install them for free. See better and drive safer with O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there. To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
Last throw, big guy.
Come on, baby, I need me a giant bear.
I got this. I'm the target. Ben, throw.
Oh, well, look who won a giant bear.
That's a grizzly.
Oh, Mama's baby bear.
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Yeah, he's had all his shots. Just don't look him in the eye.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
Clogged, overflowing gutters can cost thousands of dollars in damage to your home's foundation. Canty Foundation can replace your gutters and save you money.
Canty installs gutter shutter.
Call us today for your free inspection.
Canty can fix it.
Having a reliable gutter system is essential to protecting your home's interior and exterior. Heavy rain can unleash gallons of water onto your home, and poorly maintained or leaky gutters could lead to roofing, siding, and water damage that is expensive to repair or replace. Online at candygutters.com.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
It's the Garnet Trust Hour.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. Wrapping up the Extra Point today. Tyler Head along with you. Coming up next, the 11 o'clock hour, of course, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Wes and Chris will join me. We'll talk plenty more basketball. Going to be joined by our guy, Jack Feltry, live from Nashville. Get some of his thoughts on what he's seen so far through the SEC tournament. Obviously, the focus a lot on the men this weekend as they wrap up tournament play, getting set for the NCAA tournament. Selection Sunday coming up for them this weekend. Also, Selection Sunday for the women. That'll be Sunday night on ESPN, as we will find out what the women's tournament ultimately looks like, where, of course, we know South Carolina will once again be positioned at the top as the number 1 overall seed. And for Dawn Staley, this is business as usual, being one of the best teams in the country and being one of the, if not the top seeds going into the tournament. The other day on Carolina Calls, she was asked if making the tournament ever really gets old.
It really is. It never gets old, even though, our body of work speaks for itself and we know where we'll be seated and we know where we're going. It always is a thrill to see who's in our bracket, what we need to do to get to the mountaintop. And, sometimes we are a little surprised, sometimes we're disappointed, sometimes. But I would say at this point, with the team that we have, they're excited to play in the NCAA tournament as a collective team, and I'm super excited for all of them. I mean, I got a glimpse of what it feels like for them to be in a situation when it's a one-and-done situation, and now they're familiar with it, so hopefully we'll have some not-so-too exciting moments.
So looking at things where they stand as of right now with Charlie Cream's latest bracketology, which came out the other day following all the conference tournaments, or excuse me, actually the latest one coming out this morning as we head into the weekend, which again, Selection Sunday coming up on Sunday. South Carolina, again, top overall seed in their respective bracket, has them matched up with a play-in winner of either Presbyterian or Tennessee Martin. The other two teams that would be in the Columbia Regional, because again, the first two rounds would be at the top overall seeds host site, which would be here at Colonial Life Arena. Would also have Nebraska and Kansas coming to Columbia, and that would be a theoretical second-round matchup for one of those two teams against South Carolina. Again, should they be able to get past the number 16 seed, which I feel like, again, we have a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to do. No surprise, the other top seeds, Iowa on their side of the bracket, Stanford, and then Southern Cal. Again, all 4 of the best teams in women's college basketball this upcoming season. Something else pretty important to talk about, this news coming out yesterday, that speaking of Iowa, to start off the 2024 women's basketball season, yes, we haven't even gotten into this one yet, but some cool news yesterday. The Ally Tip-Off, going to be just up the road in Charlotte, will feature both South Carolina and Iowa. Now, these two teams will not be playing each other. This is not a tournament. This is just more of a showcase type of opening event for women's college basketball, where South Carolina will take on NC State and Iowa will take on Virginia Tech. Again, to open up the season, that'll be on November the 10th of this year up there in Charlotte, again, for the Ally Tip-Off. Now, hopefully, I think we would all love to see a South Carolina and Iowa rematch with each other this upcoming postseason. That would have to take place in the national championship because of how the brackets work out. But we were treated to a very thrilling game a season ago that unfortunately South Carolina came up a little bit short in, and you got to imagine there's some sights set on a potential rematch there, not only from the standpoint of South Carolina and this fan base as a whole, but, man, how big of a deal would that be for ESPN to potentially get to see South Carolina and Iowa face off once again in the NCAA tournament? This time, again, would be for a overall national championship, not just the Final Four like they ran into each other a season ago. So you wonder if they kind of strategically made the brackets that way to ensure something like that would happen, or kind of create something like that happening again as opposed to just a Final Four matchup. Also important to note, we talked about a potential rematch with LSU. They are in Stanford's side of the bracket, which again is on the other side. So based on this, and again, this is not the official bracket yet, but we do trust bracketology to be pretty close to accurate more often than not. With LSU being on Stanford's side of the bracket, which is the Portland 3 side, it would also only be possible in a national championship for South Carolina to rematch with LSU if this does indeed hold serve. So again, we'll find out the official women's bracket coming up on Sunday night on ESPN as part of Selection Sunday. And, of course, we'll know where the men's team is playing also on Sunday with the release of that coming a little bit earlier on in the day. So excited for that, excited to see where everybody lands, and excited to see a lot of Gamecock basketball in the NCAA tournament. So, again, all that's coming up next week, and we'll have plenty more talking about the upcoming matchup this afternoon between South Carolina and Auburn. We'll be joined by an insider from Auburn to start off the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. That is all coming up next here on The Game, 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, 100.5 The Game out in Florence, is always streaming on The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, and streaming on the 107.5 The Game app as well. Gamecock Central Hour coming up next here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
No one likes to talk about the injuries, pain, disability, and lost loved ones that result from terrible car and tractor-trailer accidents. I'm Jason Reynolds. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we're honored to be the lawyers our clients rely on during their toughest moments.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When a work injury disrupts your life, I work hard to get you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
Plus tax and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. JT is throwing a party this weekend for Kia Mania. JT's giving away a new Kia Saturday 5 p.m. at both the Greystone and Killian Road locations. So come on out. Plus there's food, fun, and games for the kids Saturday and Sunday. Everyone who comes can spin our prize wheel for cash and prizes. JT is loaded with new 2024 Kia Souls, Sportages, and Fortes. 0 down, 0 payments for 6 months. JT gives a huge cash back check with every new Kia. JT's Kia Mania is back.
March into serenity and step into relaxation with the Spring Madness Member for a Day sale at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Indulge in exclusive benefits, including 10% off products, access to low member price services, and special savings on gift cards. Explore rejuvenation at their locations in the Columbia area or visit handandstone.com to unlock online offers. Embrace the tranquil spirit of spring. See spa for details. Restrictions may apply.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Hey there, Columbia. All of us at Village Idiot Pizza would like to congratulate Dawn Staley, Lamont Paris, and both their teams on a phenomenal regular season, and thank you for the memories. Speaking of making memories, come make some with us at either Village Idiot location, 5 Points or Olympia at the Mills. Together, all postseason long, let's cheer on our Gamecocks. You may call it one thing, but we call it the third month of the calendar craziness.
At Atkins Law, we are proud alumni of USC. Since graduating, our attorneys continue to be proud supporters of Gamecock sports.
And we understand that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see on the field. There's practice, there's diligence, there's loyalty. All of those things we put into practice every day.
Remember, if you've been hurt on the job, who you hire matters. Call us at 803-251-6406 or find out more at hollyatkinslaw.com.
The NBA season is still here, and there is no easier way to get in on the action than with Underdog Fantasy and their Pick'em game. It's a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Here's how it goes. The Pick'em game, you pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams. Select higher or lower on player stats, and if your picks hit, you can win up to 100 times your money. It's that easy, and it's legal in South Carolina. That's the best part. Underdog is super easy to play, and it's even easier to get started. Just go to their easy-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up using promo code 1075. And Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on your first Pick'em entry. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code 1075 to get your first deposit of $10 or more. Matched plus your special pick. You must be 18 and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy